Hi y'all, this is Larry at Deep South, Texas. It's the first week in December and it's time to take another look at the garden. Since it's cooled down a little bit, I've been working in the garden a little bit more and trying to refresh the cypress mulch I have in the pathways. I'm certainly not done by any means, but made quite a bit of progress, and the garden is looking nicer each week. So here are my onions. I planted these seeds 2 months ago and they are looking really good. I haven't put any fertilizer on them since I planted them, but I probably will give them a shot of fertilizer this week. And the leeks that I planted on the same day, they're looking great. And I also planted parsley that day, and time to start using it. We got lots of parsley here. And I also planted cilantro that day. So it's looking good too. So these are all 2 months old now. Also on that same day, I planted cabbages and broccoli. And the cabbages came up really well. In fact, I just planted one row, but I put several seeds in each spot, and it looks like all the cabbage seeds germinated. So I have transplanted a bunch of them around, and they're all looking good. Now, this plant here was supposed to be a cabbage as well. So it came out of the same seed packet, but I think that's bok choy. And it looks like it's ready to harvest. I think only one broccoli came up. And I think that that's the broccoli plant right there. But the rest of the plants here are the cabbages. And I don't know, half a dozen or so carrots got transplanted into this bed as well. So like I said, the cabbage seeds I planted did really well, and I've also moved a bunch of cabbage plants over into this bed. And for the most part, they're all looking pretty healthy. Not too much in the way of transplant shock there. And the carrots I planted about 7 weeks ago are just doing great. Just doing great. They're, I don't know, 8 or 9 inches high. They're wildly overplanted. I have thinned this out twice so far, and we'll need to do a little bit more thinning, but carrots are going to be abundant this year. Though when I planted the carrots, I knew I was going to have to thin them out. My wife just hates thinning out carrots, or thinning out any plants, so she picked a bunch out and put them in this bed. Now, I don't think you're supposed to transplant carrots, but these were pretty young when they got moved, and we'll see how they do, if they end up being okay or have real crooked roots. So about 5 weeks ago, I planted this garlic, and almost every clove I planted has come up, and it's looking really good. Again, I haven't given any of this any fertilizer yet, so I probably will do that this week. The turmeric and the ginger, which I have usually harvested by this time of the year, is still looking good. And the plan is to leave them in the barrels over the winter and just harvest fresh as we need it. I don't think that will be a problem. And this week I planted sugar snap peas in these buckets, and it will be climbing up on this trellis here. Now, I'm a little bit late getting these in the ground this year, but I think we'll be okay. It's up until about last week, it's been too hot down here for them anyway, so we'll be watching those. I haven't seen any pop up yet. They've been in the ground for about a week. And I planted some lettuce in that pot there, and I don't think it's up either. My 2-year-old jalapeno plant has put on a bunch of new peppers. They're all pretty small, but I'll be harvesting these peppers and taking this plant out. This is probably the only plant I've had that's done very well this year, only pepper plant. But I want to get this bed, one of these 2 beds where I had peppers planted this year. I want to get at least one of these beds ready for potatoes that I'll be planting in January. And I think today I'll be harvesting, doing the final harvest of my moringa leaves. These leaves just snap off real easily. And I'm going to take off all the leaves and then cut them back down, to about 8 inches to a foot tall. Short enough so that if we should get a freeze, I can just throw a bucket over top of them and give them a little bit of protection. And I really want to get that done today because this really tall moringa tree here has a lot of pods on it, and the pods are starting to open up and drop their seeds, so I want to get those harvested. I'll probably cut this down in 2 pieces so that I can make sure that the bottom piece I am careful not to damage the trunk. Again, I'll be cutting it down. This one maybe to a couple feet tall. And then we'll get all the rest of them as well. And we'll measure this one to see how tall it got. Okay, I've cut back all my moringa trees for the winter. So I don't think they're going to grow anymore this year. But if we get some weather that looks like I have a freeze coming up, then I'll just put a bucket or a trash can over these just to try to keep them from freezing. So here is my one tall moringa tree. Let's measure it and see how long it was. There's still about a foot of it in the ground, so we'll add a foot to what we get here. So what is that? That is 19 feet 4 inches plus a foot left in the ground, so 20 feet tall. And while I was sawing this down, I had moringa seeds falling on me from these pods that have broken open. So we'll collect those pods and collect the leaves and see what we ended up with. But 20 feet tall, And that was 2 years worth of growth. I didn't cut them down last year because we never had any threatening freezes. We did get a freeze in March, but that was extraordinarily late in the year. And there is my moringa leaf harvest here in December. Not a lot. It's not a great time of year, but we'll get what we can. And there are the seed pods we harvested. There are several in them that have already split open or dropping their seeds on the ground. All in all, not too bad. Well, I hope you enjoyed this tour of my garden the first week in December. It's looking pretty good. I know a lot of your gardens are probably covered with snow, but down here in South Texas, this is a great time of year to garden. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that thumbs up. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again next time.